that's, our best marketing tool, honestly, is for people to love where they live. And that's one thing that I pride myself on is you want someone to move into your community thinking this is the best thing since sliced bread. And that's what, it just warms my heart for that.
You're listening to Real Returns, where we learn how real leaders are finding real purpose through the work they do. Join your hosts, Andrew and Dan, as they interview leaders about how their businesses are creating meaningful change for individuals and communities around the world.
Welcome back to another episode of the Real Returns podcast. My name is Andrew Reichert. I am your host. I have the honor and the privilege of being with a fellow Bergenite here today, Julie Hanners. Julie has a world of experience, 30 years in the property management and operations world, having overseen about 25,000 units. So I think it's going to be a great conversation. Thanks for joining us today, Julie.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Can you just maybe give us a quick brief? What are you up to today? What do you do at Birgo?
So I am Vice President of Property Management and leading the division of all things operations. And I have been here about 6 months, and I have really enjoyed the challenges you guys have thrown at me.
Nice. And what made you want to come to Birgo?
Birgo has been on my radar for quite some time, and I had spoken with you guys a while back, and I had this opportunity. Birgo reached out, and it seemed like a great fit for us both at the perfect time.
Yeah, nice. And so coming from kind of a big REIT, when I think big REIT, I think big corporate culture. How do you contrast that to Birgo? Like what's it like at Birgo versus kind of those big REITs?
So I think at Birgo, it's your voice really matters. And, when you're in a large public REIT, there's so much, SEC and all types of requirements that have to be met. I feel like at Birgo, being a, smaller operation, that I can really contribute and bring everything that I have in the past 30 years to the table.
Yeah. And one of the things we like to talk about here is just kind of impact. And I know it's one of the things that's ingrained in the mission here at Birgo, but also ingrained in a lot of the people that work here. So how do you think of your role and the impact that it has?
Just, Birgo is a company that believes in, uptraining people and upskilling them. And I feel like the vast majority, I started in leasing, and just bringing everything that I've learned to the table to help people be their best self and be the best they can be in their career and find out what their goals are and then help them reach their goals.
Yeah. Well, let's go to that point. You said you started in leasing. I'd like to maybe double click on that a little bit, drill in a little further. So you started in leasing, which is kind of, working your way from the bottom to the top, really. Today, you're running the entire property management division here at Birgo. So tell us a little bit about, what was it like starting at the bottom, starting at the beginning, starting, with leasing units, and what is the progression as you've kind of gone through the ranks?
Right. So when I started in leasing, I really had no idea about property management. I'm just, graduated from college in economics. And my mom's like, why do you want to go into leasing? And, I told her that I just love working with people and I love helping them find something that they need. I mean, when people come in the door, they're wanting what you have.
Yeah.
And so I love trying to find exactly what they want. And then, that's their home. That's the biggest check they're going to write every single month. And you want it to be special for them, whether it's a class A property, or a class C or B property, that's their home. And I just love helping people and, treating them no different, whether it is an A, B, or C property. I mean, everyone deserves respect. And I just love helping people find what they're looking for.
Yeah. Well, even that leasing position can have so much impact. And that's what I love about our business is there's really so much impact you can have at any level of the organization. So let's dig in a little bit deeper on that specific piece. So what I think I hear you saying is, wow, even in that leasing role, you had an opportunity to impact somebody's life by moving them into a unit. And what was it about that really drove you to that? I mean, you could have done anything. You said you graduated in economics,
Right.
and then you do a leasing, and you're like, wow, I really love the impact on people's lives. So what was it about that drew you in?
I think just, again, it goes back to, wanting them to be their best, wanting them to find a place that is special for them and creating those moments and and community around that, not just, a place for them. This is my address. I love creating community. I love doing events. I love just bringing people together and for them loving where they live.
Mm.
I mean, that's, our best marketing tool, honestly, is for people to love where they live. And that's one thing that I pride myself on is, I would want to live anywhere that we have properties. And, we would never want someone to live somewhere we wouldn't. And
Hmm.
so I just think it's so important. You want someone to move into your community thinking this is the best thing since sliced bread. And that's what it just warms my heart for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things you talked about is as you think of people and helping them become the best version of themselves. I can't help but think about our theme this year at Birgo is growth on purpose. And so all of us are individually setting goals to think about, okay, how can I grow as a person this year? And one of the things I heard you say is you like helping residents even become the best version of themselves. So a question for you. What are you doing to be the best version of yourself? Like what are some things that you're working on or that you're growing on purpose this year?
So this year, I love training and I love not only developing myself but developing others. And so I've really charged myself with that. And being new here to Virgo is how can I grow my talents while growing others? And I think as I'm training others, it helps me grow internally because that's one thing that really sparks me on the inside is when I see others grow. And so I really want to grow myself in learning how to be a better trainer or how to, I know we do, assessments here and how can I dig into my strengths to maybe help someone else. And so I think, a lot of companies that I've worked for, like you said, the bigger REIT companies, we really don't get the opportunity to really spill ourselves into others because there's so much on our plate. And I feel
Mhm.
like one thing at Birgo is that we really dive deep into ourselves to learn how we can become better and thus make our teams better.
Yeah, it's one of the things I'm personally passionate about. We've created this Rhino operating system here at Birgo. We're big on the Rhino. Got a Rhino right here hanging out with us in the studio. And really, the Rhino is a picture of two things, in my opinion. One is resilience, because this Rhino has this really thick skin. And two is alignment. So it has to align itself when it's charging. And so I always think of that even with our theme this year of growth on purpose. One, you have to align yourself, right? It's growth
Right.
on purpose. So you have to actually have an intention and a direction. And two, you have to be resilient. You have to have this thick skin to withstand the adversity that inevitably is going to come, right? I mean,
Right.
it's coming personally, it's coming professionally, it's coming from all angles. When I think of resilience, I think of the adversity that I've been through. For me, being diagnosed with cancer in my first year of marriage, really threw us off. I mean, it was something that I think about often in terms of helping me appreciate every day. And I don't want to put your personal
Yeah.
business out there, but you and I have some
Right.
similarities in that.
Right. Yeah. I was diagnosed with cancer right at the beginning of the pandemic. I think my first chemo treatment was like a couple days before everything shut down. And so, going through COVID, going through cancer and all that by yourself, it really, you have to dig deep, you feel, alone, but, you come out of it the other side
Mm.
such a bigger person and such a better person. But you're right. You do, live every day to its fullest. And, I bring that to work with me every day.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that's a really important connection that you and I have and detail in your life because, when you're faced with cancer and you recognize the brevity of life and you're like, wow, each day
Right.
matters. That really helps you to, in my opinion, as I've lived, it's actually been 12 years since I've been diagnosed with cancer. I think every day, like, wow, today is a gift. You
Yeah.
know, today is a gift. And so what can I do today to live with intentionality? And
Hmm.
that's really what we're talking about here is, and it ties really well to Birgo's purpose of improving lives through real estate. It's like, hey, how can we be intentional about the impact that we're having in people's lives? And you, I think, given some of your experience, you've witnessed and experienced that firsthand.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's so important to, you know, this is the only life we're given. And again, living it every day to the fullest, but also trying to put yourselves in other shoes. And, you know, somebody might be having a down day. Well, what can I do to help make them feel better or make their day?
Mhm.
And again, that's one thing I love about what we do is that we have that opportunity every day.
Yeah, that's really good. And, one of the things I wanted to maybe just drill into a little bit, you mentioned when you were going through chemo, it was during COVID.
Right.
And I can't even imagine that because, you've got this pandemic and then you have something that suppresses your immune system.
Right.
And so not only is it lonely because you're going through this experience by yourself, but it was physically lonely for you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I've realized is, this was true going through cancer as well. I mean, I had so much support and I was very grateful for that. My wife was able to be with me by my side as I went through 9 weeks of chemotherapy. But at the same time, it's an individual journey. And like nobody else understands that individual
Right.
journey except for you, right? Like you can
Yeah.
say, I'm going through chemo and I'm this and I'm that, but like really nobody else gets it. Did
Right.
you feel that way a little bit?
Absolutely. I mean, people can say, I understand what you're going through, but do you really?
Right.
It's like, and I think about that all the time, and it's like I want to bring people into it, but until you've been through it, it's hard, very hard to understand.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I totally can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something that helps me want to fulfill our mission and my life's mission day in and day out. As I think about the impact that I'm having, it's like, okay, well now I've gotten past something. Not that I'm actually past it forever. I mean, there's always something, and I think that's why the Rhino and resilience
Right.
is necessary. But it gives me that motivation to continue to press on and say, okay, there's another mountain, there's another challenge. I'm going to keep pressing on because that's what we do.
Yeah. And I mean, I was telling someone this the other day that I think our team like has totally bought into this, and
Mm.
it just is so exciting to see, someone in our company had just been to Cleveland, working on a special project for us, and then they, we're closing on another property, and I call him and I was like, hey, I really need to see if you can help me get this done. And he's like, I'm on my way. And it's like,
Mm.
that you can't find that everywhere. And, it's that people are really bought into our core values. And again, you can't get that at a big REIT. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that drew me to Virgo.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes I feel like our core values, they say our core values aren't created, they're actually discovered. So they're like the things that already exist in your organization, you just name them. And sometimes I think our core values often come out of our mission. So what I just heard you say is like teamwork is one of our core values, for example. And I hear that day in and day out. Like, hey, Western New York, we've got a bunch of turns we need to do. And all of a sudden the maintenance team in Western PA is driving to Western New York and like
Yes.
staying a week and units up there and turning over
Yes.
units. I mean, they don't have to do that, but they do because of our teamwork core value. But it's not because teamwork is a core value that we've named. It's because they believe in the mission and
Right.
they want to move things forward. So it sounds like you're seeing that.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's how we create and, create, great places to live and improve lives through real estate is our teamwork just exudes that.
Mm,
And they are very proud of the product that they provide, and they want it to be perfect for them. And so it really shows, and, people jumping in just to help and what can I do?
yeah, yeah, that's great. And kudos to you for leading the charge there because I think you set the tone at the top. And I really do pride ourselves, and it's not me, but I think our leadership team and our executive team sets the tone. They're the folks who say, I'm bought in. I'm rolling my sleeves up. I'm bought into the mission. I'm showing up. I'm cutting the grass. I'm plunging the toilet, whatever it
Right.
is, right? I always tell people, yeah, my title might be CEO, but I'm like chief janitor
That's
some
right.
days. I do a little bit of everything. And so I think it's when you're bought in at the top, people, below you get bought in as well.
Yeah, and I love that our growth on purpose this year, because although we're executives, I mean, we don't claim we know
Yeah,
everything, and we
it's
are
true.
always wanting to learn. And, that just challenges us to, hey, where can we grow this year? And I love that, that we're always willing to grow and, reflect on ourselves to say,
Mhm.
hey, how can I grow personally, but then how can I grow to help move this company to the next level?
Yeah, well, along those lines, and last question. I mean, we talked a little bit about growth on purpose and this year and how you want to grow personally. Certainly, we know as an organization, we're looking to grow professionally. I mean, this is likely going to be our biggest growth year ever.
Right.
We're looking at acquiring most amount of real estate we've ever acquired. And so we've got a really great growth targets. But as you look at the next 5 years, 10 years, what do you see on the horizon, either personally, professionally, organizationally? Like as you look out into the future, and you think about the impact that you want to have, you want this organization to have, what do you see?
I mean, I really see myself and the experience that I've had over the past 30 years expi- inspiring the next group of leaders,
Mm.
and that will lead this company into the next 5-10 years. And that is super exciting for me. I love to dig in to see where people, what are their motivations, where do they want to see themselves in 5 years? And then I charge myself, and that's my responsibility to help them get there, whether it's with our company or somewhere else. I want someone to always try and achieve their goals.
Yeah, well, I believe that's a mark of a good leader, is a leader who's building leaders, who's building leaders. Really good leaders are always basically hiring their replacements.
Right.
You're saying, hey, I'm hiring A players, hire A players, B's hire C's and D's, as Jim Collins would say. But really, it's about, hey, I'm going to hire somebody who's as good as me or better than me, so that they can eventually replace
Right.
me. Because that's really what good leaders do. They're always thinking about that next generation.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been great. Thank you so much, Julie, for being on the show. Thank you so much for our listeners for listening in. It was fun to do an episode with a fellow Burgundy and talk a little bit about what's happening organizationally. I learned a lot just thinking about the difference between our organization compared to, say, a big REIT,
Right.
and what does it look like to actually have impact here with the team, with our residents. And so thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everyone. We'll catch you next time. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Real Returns. Tune in every other Wednesday for more conversations around investing, entrepreneurship, and how business can instill a sense of purpose.